Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make chocolate cheesecake bars. Hey Sugar Spun Bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. Today's chocolate cheesecake bars are actually an old recipe from the blog, but they didn't have a video, so today I thought I would make one and share it with you. Today's recipe yields super decadent chocolate cheesecake squares. You are going to love these, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, we will make the crust for these cheesecake bars. We're going to be doing an Oreo cookie crust. So I like to make this in my food processor. In the basin of your food processor, you'll want to combine 24 Oreo sandwich cookies. And since we're not making this in a springform pan, I don't have a lot of issues with the filling leaking out of the pan and making a mess of the oven. So I usually just leave the filling right in there with the cookies, and I would advise you to do the same. We'll pop the lid on our food processor and we will blend these up until we have nothing but fine crumbs remaining. Next, you need 4 tablespoons of melted butter. You can use salted or unsalted, whatever you have on hand is fine. We'll just drizzle this over the cookie mixture, and I just like to pulse it a couple times until that butter is nicely worked in and all of the cookie crumbs are moistened. We'll be baking today's recipe in a 9x9 baking pan, and I highly recommend lining the pan with parchment paper or foil. This will not only make it easier for you to remove the bars from the pan and make cleanup much easier, but it's also going to help keep your cheesecake from cracking, because as the cheesecake cools, the parchment paper or the foil will just shrink right with it and prevent any cracks from occurring. Now pour the cookie crumbs into your pan, and we're just going to press them evenly into the bottom of the pan. I'm just using the back of a spoon to do this. We want a nice, firm, even layer. All right, now set this aside and we can begin to prepare our cheesecake filling. The first thing you need for today's recipe is 8 ounces of chocolate. I highly recommend using a dark chocolate. I like to use 60%, but you can use semi-sweet instead if that's all you have on hand. I'm using chocolate bars, so I'm just going to chop these up into small pieces. And then I'll place these in a heat-proof mixing bowl. And I'm going to microwave this for 30-second increments, stirring well in between until I have a nice, smooth chocolate mixture. Set this aside so it has some time to cool, and then in a large mixing bowl, we'll combine 3 8-ounce packages or 24 ounces of full-fat cream cheese with 1 cup of granulated sugar. You could absolutely make today's recipe in a stand mixer, but today I'm going to be using an electric hand mixer. And we'll cream these together until they are smooth and lump-free. You don't want any lumps remaining in your cream cheese. Now we'll add 1/2 cup of sour cream and a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we'll stir these in as well. All right, so your chocolate should have had a little bit of time to cool now. It should not have re-solidified, but it shouldn't be piping hot either. We'll go ahead and drizzle this into the cheesecake mixture. And then we'll stir this in until it's completely combined. Now I am going to just pause and use my spatula to scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl just to make sure everything's well incorporated. And as you can see, my mixer did not get everything, but I also like to be careful when I'm making cheesecake that I don't overmix the batter and I don't incorporate too much air into it. So I do recommend pausing and just by hand using a spatula stirring everything together periodically. It's a great way to ensure everything's well combined and to make sure you don't end up with a lumpy cheesecake. All right, the last thing that you need is 3 large eggs for today's recipe. We'll go ahead and crack these one at a time in a separate bowl, and then I lightly scramble each one before adding it to the cheesecake batter. Again, we don't want to overmix our batter, so I will stir it in until it's just incorporated. We'll repeat with our remaining eggs until they've all been combined. And then once again, we will use our spatula to scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl. Now we'll pour this over our cheesecake crust. Just use a spatula to smooth out the batter. We'll take this over to our preheated oven where it's going to need to bake for about 40 minutes. Now when the cheesecake is finished baking, it should be mostly set, but if you jiggle it a little bit, the center of the cheesecake will still be a little bit jiggly. This is just slightly jiggly, sort of like completely set Jell-O. It's not going to be liquidy like there's water in there. This is looking pretty much perfect, so now I'm going to let it sit at room temperature for about an hour until it's cooled down quite a bit, and then I'll pop it in the refrigerator where it will need to chill for at least 6 hours before we can cut into it. Now, fortunately, I do have a set of chocolate cheesecake bars that I prepared last night so you guys could see what it looks like. So let's go ahead and dig in. That one was a little bit messy. One thing I like to do when I'm cutting my cheesecake is wipe the blade of the knife between cuts. It's just going to give you cleaner cuts. It's up to you how much that matters. And that is how you make these incredible chocolate cheesecake squares. I hope you guys enjoyed today's recipe, and if you try this one out, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think, because I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. I love my job.